Hey guys, before we get started, you know what to do. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at LaunchpadPod, on our website, launchpadpod.com. Tell your friends about us. We love having new listeners, especially in the new year. I mean, it's 2022 and things are bullshit in the rest of the world, but Launchpad Podcast is holding it down. So if your friends are like, oh my God, I'm so nervous about Russia and Omicron and all that, and you'd be like, hey guys, whoa. I got just the thing for you. Do you like dick jokes and comic books and shitty movies? Because if you do, I got something that's going to make you feel so much better.
How funny would it be if we changed our format to be like political shit about, like political and medical? You're like, all right, guys, today we're not going to talk about our favorite horror movies. We're going to talk about this virus that's actually killing people and splitting people politically and rationally.
Guys, I want to take a moment to talk about police brutality. People would be like, no, please no. I get enough of that anywhere else but here on the Launchpad Podcast. We talk about shitty horror movies, comic books, bullshit, and dick jokes.
Spoiler alert, though, I'm actually talking about serious shit today a little bit. So we'll get into that.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Put on your big boy pants, everybody.
I don't have pants on. You only see me from the waist up. So.
It's funny. Have you ever podcasted without pants on? I haven't. I've always had pants. Sometimes no underwear. Right now, no underwear.
I mean, I've had sweatpants on. Do they count?
Right.
Do they even count if they're sweatpants?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we are talking about something fun. One of my favorite franchises in horror we're talking about today because it had a little TV run. We're going to talk about Chucky. Let's get into it. Launchpad Podcast.
Excited.
Here we go.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, welcome to the Launchpad Podcast. I'm Aaron.
Hi, I'm Rumi, and I'll be your friend to the end. Heidi ho! Ha ha ha!
I'd be smashing your head into a fireplace already.
No, I'm super strong. We're going to talk about that. This is super cool. I don't know if you remember, Rumi, and the people who are seeing this. I don't even know if you ever saw it, but a couple years ago, we got to do an interview with the Tom Holland, not the Thwip Tom Holland, but the Chucky.
Oh, that Tom Holland.
Yes, yeah.
That was the Tom Holland we spoke to. You're right.
Tom Holland is the director of the original Child's Play film. He also did Fright Night and a ton of other amazing stuff. Yeah. But I got to go to his ranch and interview him about Child's Play and Fright Night and stuff. And I got to take pictures of me and him sitting next to each other. Me with this. If you're not watching the YouTube, you got to check it out. I have on a official Good Guys Doll Chucky costume shirt. And I have red hair, so that works.
I would believe that you were a killer doll. Can't prove me otherwise.
So it's killer sex doll though.
Yeah.
Are you a pleasure model?
Lame.
So you said that Chucky is one of your favorite horror franchises, huh?
I go out on the limb and say, of all horror franchises, you don't have to like Chucky better than Jason Voorhees, but consistency across the board, there's no other franchise to do it better than Chucky. He has been consistent. His first film, obviously, is one of the best horror films to do it. To do Killer Doll, to be, it's just a solid horror film. It's one of my favorites. But across the board, every single one of the films has delivered on a consistent level that I can appreciate. I mean, and then the bottom of the barrel is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which can't pick a movie, can't pick a lane, doesn't know what it is. Every movie's a reboot of a reboot.
Sure.
Yeah. I think Texas is the worst for franchise continuity, but I think Chucky, Child's Play, as a series, delivers on a consistent level across the board every single time.
I'm trying, just for the sake of argument, to think of an argument, and I can't, because Child's Play changes lanes. Child's Play and Chucky changes lanes a couple of times.
Yep.
And there's definitely times where I prefer the previous lane than the current lane. But the current lane is fine, and you're right, it does it well. It's not like it accident. Like I think some movies fall into something else. Like they trip, to go with that analogy, they trip into that second lane, and then they're like, what the fuck do we do now that we're here? Child's Play is like, this is a horror movie. Child's Play 2 is like, this is a horror movie, but he's going to wink at the camera a couple times. Same with 3. And those are my 3 favorite. Yep. Then 4 is like, we know who you are that is watching this, and we're going to do this for you, and it's going to be fun. And that's not, at first I wasn't like on board with that, but then it's like, you know what? They do it fucking great. It's enjoyable. The kills are fun. The puppeteering is amazing. The acting is good. Like for it's the fourth not film, good. It's fun. For
the 4th film in the franchise to be like, let's reinvent ourselves. Good for you. And not only to reinvent yourself, again, you might not like the 4th one for going full comedy, horror comedy. That's fine. You don't have to like it for that, but you have to admit it did the horror comedy well.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
It's like, we're going to do a different thing. And I know a lot of people hate Seed. I know that for a lot of people, that is the bottom of the barrel of the franchise.
I agree.
For me, 3 and Seed are both pretty bottom of the barrel. Except for the last 20 minutes of 3, which is amazing. But
I love 3, but it's 3.
It's pretty stale though. Of the original 3, like it's not doing anything that the other 2 didn't do, and it does it in a way that's
Army
boring.
Camp. Army, like
so boring.
Anyway. That's one of those things that you think that they were like, all right, well, we can't just make 2 again. What if we just make 2, but it's at A, and then they put a dartboard up and they just threw it, and they're like, Army training school?
It could have been anywhere. Yeah, they could have picked anything, like barbershop. You know,
fucking. I mean, Chucky's gonna be a bro. He said the guy has a heart attack and he falls on the map, and Chucky's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I love that one. I think that one there's a lot of stupid shit in it. Sure. There's a lot of like, it doesn't need this or this, but the kills are fine. It was for me, and this is going way back now, the Chucky movies, or I guess I should say the Child's Play movies, those were like, my buddy's sleeping over tonight and my parents are letting us stay up late. We're going to turn the lights off. We're going to scare each other. We're going to be up, quote unquote, all night. Those are the fucking movies that you go to, was Child's Play 1 through 3, right?
For sure. Child's Play 3 was the one my friend had on VHS. So we watched that. And it was that in the Aliens movies. We would watch so much Aliens.
Sure.
But for 3, if you look at the franchise, the film franchise, we're going to get to the TV show in a second. You look at the film franchise, where does 3 fall for you? Is it number 3 for you? Is it higher?
Yeah, I think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Then what would Cult? What's the hospital one? Cult. I think that would probably be 5, and 5 would be 6. I didn't really care for that one. Specifically the change to the doll and I put fucking Laffy Taffy over my face to make the Bride of Chucky face look like a regular face, and nobody knew. Like, I'm already giving you voodoo serial killer possessed doll that has survived through so many movies. Yeah. But like at that one, it's just like, ugh, come on. I also feel like the kills, like, to me, that's the most ho-hum of them all. I feel like even though 3, I understand why you might not love 3. Yeah. Chucky is still Chucky in that one. He does Chucky shit. He says Chucky shit. I'm a purist, but he looks like Chucky and the Chucky that we're familiar with.
Well, he's weird human Chucky though. He's weird human Chucky with the weird hairline in 3. He's the weird human Chucky. His hairline's weird. Like he's become human at that point. So he has he blink, like he has eyelids at this point. They're not like the doll eyelid. Like he's
sure. I see what you're saying. No, but
it's still cool. It's fine.
Great.
I think that's kind of.
What's your order for the?
I think it's 1, 2, and then Bride. I love Bride. Okay. I'm not including the TV show in this because we'll get to the TV show. I'm just doing movies. 1, 2, Bride. And then probably Cult, Seed, and then Curse.
Oh, I forgot to say Seed.
Seed's low for me, but I still love it. Like, I agree. I like watching Seed every now and then, but I know it doesn't get, because Seed leans so hard into the camp, and I'm a huge camp fan.
Sure.
So it's like, it's a little bit inside, like, for my realm. I'm like, I know what they're nodding at. Glenn and Glenda references. What regular everyday Joe who hasn't studied camp cinema, who didn't go to film school, is going to be like, is that a Glenn or Glenda reference?
Right,
Ed Wood?
right.
Like, nobody's going to get it. Most people are going to be like, who's that weird photographer guy? It's like fucking John Waters.
John Waters, right.
Yeah. Most people aren't going to get it. So I love Seed for doing that and taking the swings. And I will say this, the Chucky franchise keeps taking swings, whether they land or not. I don't care. They took the swing and I respect them for it, because a lot of franchises are afraid to take swings now because, oh my God, so much money. Right? Like the new Freddy movie was too safe, and their biggest swing, they even redacted. They're like, he's a child molester for real. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right.
You took a big swing and then you took it back, and then all of your all the kills and stuff and all the dream shit was so safe.
Yeah.
Get weird with it. We've seen it before. Every Friday the 13th, which again, I don't go to Friday the 13th for big swings. I go for people dying in cool
Same
ways.
shit, right.
Yeah. You know, if my biggest complaint for a Friday the 13th is it's stale, it did a good job. So,
or at least was consistent, right?
So yeah, at least. So I think Chucky's good, and I love Seed for that, but it's not the best in the franchise.
I agree, and I think especially when we start talking about the TV show, you know, when you judge you were calling them swings, right? When you judge a swing that a company or a distributor or somebody takes, or a film franchise takes, I guess you can say, did it land in the way they wanted, or did it land for us as the audience? And I think Chucky, the whole franchise, you know, Chucky Child's Play, is a good way to think about that, because I think that their swings are landing the way that they want. So, for example, Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky start leaning and then really lean into that camp. For me, Seed was a little too much, but it landed in what they were trying to do to make a balls out, off the wall Chucky movie with, you know, cross-dressing, identity questioning, demon possessed dolls,
half
with
human,
a
half
slew,
doll hybrid. Yeah.
With a slew of characters, you know, of actors.
Meta.
And
completely meta.
It functioned in what it was. It's not one of my favorites, but like you said, I love popping that movie in once in a while because I know what it is. Like, we have an understanding, Seed and I, you know, like It is what it is, and it's fucking fun. There's nothing that movie does wrong. I said lane change before. It moved into a lane that's not my favorite lane, but it does that lane well, and it works in the franchise. You know what I mean?
What other movie is going to not only have Jennifer Tilly in it as herself, but also pull out Redman's intestines? I mean, how high?
And it's fun as shit, right? And she's perfect in the role of Tiffany the doll, and as Jennifer Tilly the actress,
and the doll obsessed with her. Yeah, the doll being obsessed with her.
Funny, like, it's one of those things where it's almost like when you're like, I don't like that comedian, but I'm going to try not to laugh at that joke, but it was pretty funny. That's kind of how I feel about Seed, where it's like, it's not my favorite, and that's not really what I want that movie to be, but it's fucking good. It's fun.
One of my favorite moments is when John Waters is spying on the dolls and he sees Chucky jerking off. He goes, God bless the little people.
Yeah.
And like, again, maybe Seed didn't go far enough. Like, if it was even raunchier, and like, then you have John Waters in it, because like, for those of you who don't know, John Waters is the king of crass. He made the raunchiest, the most subversive films ever out of Baltimore in like the 60s and 70s. He's done Pink Flamingos, Female Troubles, these things where he did a lot of stuff for the LGBT community. His big star, Divine, is this very large, overly make-upped drag queen. I suppose.
You would know,
I apologize if that is not the term that he went by, but
you would know them if you saw them.
Because he became a drag queen icon. But like, the most famous scene in Pink Flamingos is they follow this dog around and the dog takes a shit and Divine picks up and eats it and then spits it at the camera. For real, eats dog shit. Like, that's the kind of movies John Waters was making. So Seed of Chucky was nothing compared to this. But like, again, it was challenging taste at the time, and Seed of Chucky and Bride of Chucky was like, we're challenging your taste on this. And I appreciate that they're like, we did the same 3 movies. They were great. People like them. So let's go in this new direction and see where it goes. So I respect the shit out of that for taking the swing.
Yeah. There's
With a
also
big ruler.
something. What would you say with a big ruler?
With a big ruler.
It's one of my favorite scenes of the entire franchise. And actually, that's a great lead-in because, and I'm sure you feel the same. This is what did we say? 3, 4, 5, 6, a 6-movie and now 1 TV show franchise that does not shy away from having their main antagonist, and sometimes that's the main character, as a puppet. And oddly enough, my least favorite is the one that used a lot of CG puppet or CG doll. The rest of them, there's a lot of physical effects, a lot of practical effects with the doll. And
I give
great. It is great.
Yeah. I mean, we might as well get into it. Well, speaking of the doll, Remy, I noticed you have a Chucky box, like a good guy box. Mm-hmm. It'd be a lot cooler if you had the doll in there, but you have a box, which is cool.
There was a Chucky doll.
Matt, in front of you. Look in front of you.
What?
There was. I swear I saw a little red-haired little monster. Oh my God, he's behind you, Rumi. Look out. Look out. Dude, look at this Chucky doll. I can't hear you, man. I can't hear you.
Forgot. I got so excited. This is the Trick or Treat Studios Child's Play 2 Chucky replica doll. It was multiple hundreds of dollars and almost caused a fight in our house. But Amanda made me put it in the closet because I took all these pictures of him in Kent's room before Kent was born, but we were still setting up like his nursery. It's 1-to-1 scale. He's posable. He's pliable. It looks fantastic. And it was a Kickstarter that I bought, it's the only Kickstarter I ever. Actually, I did one for Steve Prince, but since then, comes with the box. It comes with a couple other little tools of his and a helmet and shit, and his voodoo knife. This is the fucking best part. Is I just set this up right, and I put him on the floor and he stands. I put him on the floor standing. I went to go make coffee and come back in, and he was standing next to the computer. And I won't say I got scared, but I was surprised. I got startled because he was just fucking standing there. It's fucking great. And the box, he looks just as good in the box as out of the box. I love this.
That's amazing. I have the NECA one, the little one in the box. I love it.
I love him so much. I think we had a small one when I lived with you, like a foot or so high, and he was good. But the face sculpt is always the thing is even ones that were like custom made.
Spot on. That looks just like the one from the movie.
It's so fucking cool.
Chucky, man.
He looks so good.
Does he have the batteries? Does it come with the batteries?
He does come. I think that was part of the Kickstarter. Is like if you made it to a certain level of funding, you got the batteries. So that's amazing. There's not the body is like a mannequin, like a plush mannequin with a flexible plastic armature inside.
Yeah.
So you can like bend him and the same with his feet. You can move him up and down and around. There's no battery compartment, but it does come with the batteries.
Oh, because that's the best. If you can open the battery compartment and then find out there's none, he spins around and goes, "You bitch!"
He turns around. I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Yes. Oh,
all right,
let's get into it, man.
You do this, okay? Yeah. You have your doll. You suspect that the doll is evil, possessed, alive, and is now like framing your kid for murder. Yeah. And you open the battery pack with the batteries in your hand, and it's empty. And the doll turns around in a slightly more aggressive voice, goes, "I'm Chucky, wanna play?" And you drop him and he rolls under the couch. What's your next move?
Clean my pants off because full of poop, full of shit, because I would have been so fucking scared at that point.
You know, if you guys, and we say this almost every episode now, but not only are Aaron and I would say above average handsomeness, I'm having an interesting but nice hair day. I have on a Good Guys t-shirt, but now I have a full-scale replica sitting in my lap. If you guys aren't watching the YouTube, you should check it out. It sounds like a shameless plug because it wasn't a Rumi's laughing at me, but check it out because it's fun, and you can see two handsome gingers.
Yeah, that's our. That's what we're known for: great transitions and smooth plugs.
I just love that we call out our smooth transitions.
Ooh, that was a good one, Ruby.
Yeah. But okay, so yeah, but do Do you look on? I mean, she lays down on the ground essentially and pulls up. You definitely don't do it that way. Right?
I get a can of gas and burn the house to ground. I don't do anything more. No, we're not doing any of that. I'm not chasing that doll under a couch. No, fuck that. Ugh. I love it though. I love Chucky so much. Let's get into the TV series, man. We got to. Okay. We got to. We're about 20 minutes in. We got to get into the TV series because right off the bat when they announced it, I was excited because Down Mancini has been killing it. I respect what he's doing. The last Chucky movie, Child's Play or whatever they called it, left a horrible taste in my mouth because that thing fucking sucked. Rumi's trying to get his doll to sit up properly. He's like, you stay there, Chucky.
That's going to move, right?
Oh, yeah, he's going to fall down. I'll tell you if he's moving. I'll tell you if he's sneaking up behind. I hated the reboot or whatever the fuck it was. That left a horrible taste in my mouth. So
which one?
The reboot Child's Play with the where he was a robot computer monster instead of.
Oh, we forgot about that when we were talking about the movies. Yeah, that was terrible.
That was not good. It had some good kills. It had some okay kills, but the movie overall was stupid and terrible.
I like it was one of those things, like I like the idea of like the updated smart toy version, but that, like you said before, they played it safe. I think they made it almost felt like a kid's movie for a while because I guess it's interesting when you think about horror, right? You want your protagonist, usually, to be your target audience, right? You want to be able to relate with your target audience. So all the Jason movies have teenagers because that's the demographic you're going after. Sure. The original Child's Play kind of breaks that a bit because the main character is Andy Barclay, who's a young child. We're not really supposed to identify with him, but we're supposed to relate to him and empathize with him, right?
But you were supposed to be old enough to not want bad things to happen to a kid.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think this new movie, they have 3 bumbling teenagers. And that's who I think that's what they were going for. And it was almost like preteens. And it wasn't like scary. It didn't feel scary. It felt more like almost like Are You Afraid of the Dark / Tales from the Crypt episode than like an actual, like, I'm worried about people getting killed. And Chucky was like overprotective and that's why he was killing. It made no sense.
It was like Swim Fan, but for killing adults. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing I will say. It wasn't about something that was deciding to hurt or menace a child. It was a broken computer. So like HAL in 2001, the HAL 9000 or whatever, that's killing people. That's not the scary part. Like rampant technology can be scary, but rampant technology isn't like choosing murder. It's like accidentally killing people. So it's all accidents. To me, that's not the same scary as a voodoo possessed evil doll that's choosing to do these things.
So it's like the malice of it, the intent, the willful evil, right? Because in this case, in the Chucky movies and TV show, that's a choice. He is deciding. I mean, obviously, you could say he's imbalanced. There's chemical things and mental things and emotional things, but he's making choices.
Yeah, right. It accidentally killing people because it doesn't know any better is stupid to me. Like that just that doesn't mean scary. That means that there's a different movie there that they didn't make.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, what was we saw him? It was like a Michael Crichton movie, Andromeda on a Strain or something, where they
Jurassic Park,
where all the machines come alive. I can't remember. Anyway, Chucky TV series. Let's get into it, man. We have to. What do you think?
So you said I was worried about it because I was like, how do you make that for TV? How do you make
excited? Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm trying, and I hope that you see this, but I'm trying to enjoy things more as opposed to criticize them. Like, new Star Wars is new Star Wars. New Chucky is new Chucky. I'm going to get in, and if I don't like it, I don't like it, but I'm not going to like lose sleep over it.
Sure.
And I was like, I'll check it out. And then when I watched the first episode, it was a sci-fi / USA, show.
Yeah.
Both of which are good companies that I like, but also Sci-Fi pumps out that asylum shit.
So it could be super shitty.
And
could
Chucky,
be really low budget.
And Chucky has an edge, right? So I'm like, how are you going to dull that edge to be suitable for TV? Turns out you don't. And they didn't. The first time they said fuck, I was like, whoa. And then the first murder, I was like, oh. And from that point, I was on board.
So I here's what I will say about this. The first episode didn't get me. The second episode on, I was
I can
on
see
board.
that.
There are a lot of misses here. And I don't put this is like smack dab in the middle for me if I was to include this on my list of where it lands.
Sure.
But overall, what they were able to do with the puppet is better than a lot of things. And that's where they focus. They took the puppetry and how you utilize that puppet and what you do with that puppet. They use all the knowledge they possibly could. And that's where I think they put a lot of their money. Paid off because that puppet, I believed 100% of the time. There was never any moments, even in the early movies, there's moments where you are like, oh, that's obviously a little person in a costume. And they did it here too, but they did it better.
Way better, right?
It worked
I was
better.
trying to explain that to Amanda. I was like, the proportions and the scale, I don't know if they used a little person or a kid, but it was way more believable. And they didn't shy away from it. Like, that's not the preferred method for multiple reasons, but there are times where you see a wide shot of Chucky running over to other things or people, and it's definitely not a puppet. It's definitely a human in a costume, but it worked so much better than the little person in the original one, which, you know, for whatever reason that is, it certainly helped. But like you said, the puppet, the puppet itself, there were for sure multiple shots and sequences where I was like, that could have been a puppet. That could have been CGI, or it could have been a puppet with things removed for CGI, which is what I think probably most of it was.
Most of it was rotted. Yeah, they would do rod puppets and stuff. Yeah,
it was hard to tell exactly how certain things were done, or like, was this a composite shot, et cetera, et cetera. And usually that stuff is like, if you know how film works, you're like, well, that wouldn't work unless you did it this way. I wasn't fully sure. And I think you suspend because of how they did it. And like you said, they're like, we're making a show about a killer doll, and we as production are going to use puppets a lot. How do we make that look right? It allows us as the audience to suspend our disbelief enough that we're not thinking that most of the time. We're like, oh shit, he's going to kill her. And you're in that moment, not worried about how they got him to hold that or do that. And that's, I mean, gold. That's how the series survives, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's where it succeeds the most. And it maintained not only continuity for the core films, maintained the continuity of the films that already existed. It is a continuation. It is canon in the Chucky universe, which I loved because, again, a solid continuity that is still swinging from the fences and has never rebooted within itself.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, suck it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Godzilla, any number of fucking shitty Halloween. Oh my God. Yeah. They never have had to do that. They can still stick with it. Coming back with the original cast for all the series.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That was pretty fucking cool.
That was fucking cool.
That Pulp Fiction moment with Kyle and Andy Barclay. Just,
pop.
I mean, I didn't see that.
Shooting Chucky.
I mean, when in that scene, right, they show up and they're there and you know what they're doing, but I didn't expect it to end with pop. That was
shooting
awesome.
Chucky's. So the end of, I'll do a really brief recap. Let's not get too much into it, bogged down by this, but at the end of Cult of Chucky, Chucky has learned how to splinter his soul into other Chucky dolls, and also Fiona Dorff, who plays Nika from Curse of Chucky. She is... she's paralyzed from the waist down. She's in a wheelchair, and he puts part of his soul into her body. And at the end, she stands up and starts acting all Chucky crazy and runs away with Tiffany, who is possessing Jennifer Tilly's body in a car with the Tiffany doll. And Andy Barclay is locked up in a insane asylum, and a bunch of Chuckies are gone to the wind, like escaped.
A couple of them, right?
Handful of Chucky dolls. So when the show picks up, there's this kid who's kind of a loner, kind of a weirdo, kind of an outcast. He finds a Chucky doll at a garage sale. It's like, cool, vintage Chucky doll, and comes back home, and Chucky's like, hey, what's up? I'm a killer doll. And the kid's like, what the fuck? And shit goes off from there. The kid's dad, played by one of our like favorites from the
Final Destination
Idle
series.
Hands. Yeah. Devin Thawa.
He is fucking great.
He plays multiple characters in this. He plays his twin brother.
But I was bummed that they killed that off in the first episode because I thought he was doing great as both characters, and the twin brothers they're very different in and of themselves.
I would have liked a couple.
And I don't want to go on a tangent, but he's done a bunch of stuff recently where he plays a badass or a hard ass or like a grown up, not the skinny little idle hands Final Destination guy. Wow, I'm on board, man.
Yeah, he's pretty dang good. We have a couple like people that come in and really shine, and the fact that we still have Brad Dourif back, him as the voice of Chucky is one of those ones that's like, keep that going as long as you can. Man.
You couldn't right? I mean, that would bring the whole series down a whole letter grade just because how important is he to the character?
Remember when the reboot was like, hey guys, we got Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't care.
I was hopeful, but he didn't do anything to it.
Mark Hamill is a great voice actor. His Joker, one of the best to ever fucking do it. I do not give a shit if he's voicing a killer doll. It doesn't matter. Brad Dourif,
it just was like, it was almost like,
matter.
Do it different. Don't be the Joker. Don't be Luke Skywalker. And don't be Brad Dourif Chucky. And he was just like Mechanical Hal Chucky. And you were like, well, you didn't really, I don't remember what his voice sounded like. I remember fucking Chucky's voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all remember Chucky's voice.
Handy. Wanna play? Oh, so you get Alex Vincent back as Andy Barclay. You get Christine Elise as Kyle from the first and second film. They're back. Holy shit.
Second film, yeah.
Yeah, the second film. Badasses, like going on this crusade to finish Chucky off. Fiona Dourif, who is Brad Dourif's daughter, she was in Cult, and she was the best part of...
She was in Curse and Cult, right?
She's the best part of those movies. She is a phenomenal actress. Actress.
I didn't like the end of Cult when she was like, hey, I'm Chucky now. And I was like, ugh. But like, she was doing a really good job. I think it was the concept is so over the top that I was having trouble suspending disbelief for that. But she does a great job. And the show brings this back big time. She is a very big part of the series. And she goes in and out of the Nika character and the Chucky possessed character. And I mean, it's really good. It's so over the top chewing scenery, but I don't know how you could be subtle doing that. And she does it great.
And not only does she play herself possessed by Chucky, who is voiced by her dad, she also plays her dad in the 80s with makeup on.
Yeah.
And the voice doesn't work in these scenes, but it is mind fucking because you're like, wow, you got young Brad Dourif back on screen as his daughter in makeup, and she does it perfectly. The actions, the mannerisms, the voice doesn't match because it's not, and I don't know if it ever was going to match because when we saw him in the first movie, he didn't sound like that when he's running away either. He's like, Johnny Caputo, you left me, you bastard. He didn't sound like Chucky until he's into the doll. Then he sounds like Chucky. He's doing the voice. But anyway, so he's still doing the voice for her. But to see her in the 80s doing these flashback scenes, I give them mad credit for swinging for the fences.
And again,
took a big swing.
Worked. Like, it did what it was like. But it's like, here's the thing.
Yeah. They
were going for a campy throwback to the 80s. We all remember Charles Lee Ray, the Strangler. She looks like Brad Dourif, right? His daughter looks like him.
Nailing it with
her
makeup.
voice, doing his voice is as close as a younger female can be to doing that.
But he does the voiceover in the flashbacks. He's doing the voiceover for her voice, which is weird to me.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. But that's right. But I mean, it looks, but you know what? I think it's one of those things where like the parts that don't work on the camp level, especially because we're building off of Bride and Seed and Curse and Cult, where you're now like, okay, it's almost like you're in court, right? I'll allow it. Okay, I'll allow it.
Here's the thing though. And I guess here's the parts where when I'm disappointed with the TV show, it's because I know they can do better, and they know I'm going to give them a pass.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
There it is. There it is.
Can you give me an example? I understand the sentiment that you're saying, but I'd love to if you had something.
Certain script moments where I feel like they just kind of like skipped over it and rushed it. It's like you could have done it better, and you know I'm going to give you a pass because they're like it doesn't really matter. And it's like you're right, it doesn't really matter, but you could have tried a little harder.
Sure, okay.
Certain plot elements work to connect us from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tiffany just having this really elaborate suitcase bomb at one point, I was like, she's a strangler and a stabber. Right. She's not a bomb builder. But they're like, you're going to buy it. And it's like...
Where did they get the money for all of those $1,000 Chucky dolls that they bought for the big, grand finale scenes?
100%. But they're like, we're Chucky. You're going to buy it. And you're like, you're right, Chucky. I am going to buy it. But I expected more from you. You should treat me better. Like, I'm here. I'm your friend to the end. You should treat me better than some of that stuff. But again, we gave it a pass. I can't not... it still worked. Enough of it worked. The balloon was bopped enough times.
Sure. Yeah.
Even when I'm complaining about, where are you getting all the dolls? Where are you getting bombs from? Some of the clunky ass dialogue, some of the bad acting choices.
There was some, that's what was the worst for me was bad acting.
There was a lot of bad acting.
There was a lot of bad acting, but I don't know that I gave that any negative marks for that. But I was just like, you could have gotten someone better than that.
There was a scene where somebody said something and Chucky just looked at him and like shrugged. He threw his hands up, and I was like, that's what I see every time. I was like, really, really Chucky show, and he was just like, I'm a doll. What do you want? Yeah, and I'm like, you're right. And I think that's where I'm disappointed is when it's like, I'm going to give you the pass, so you did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, overall, it worked great. I mean, to have Jennifer Tilly come back and utilize her in the way they did, I thought was great. But she's a better actress than some of those scenes that she did.
Yes, I would agree with that for sure. And I
don't think I didn't think they made her do a take 2 or 3. They were just like, whoa, Jennifer Tilly, you're so amazing. Like, you still have to direct these people. They still want you to
I wonder,
tell them what to do.
And this is like a thing, like for sure. I always say this is my bar, right? I'll buy this on DVD or Blu-ray immediately. And I mean,
sure.
Not only to own and to possess because I feel like that, but also for the special features. This maybe me even more than me, but like television is a way different animal than film. Yeah. You are fighting time. You are fighting budget. And there's a lot of times where it's like, oh, you're just going to like splinter your soul apart and you needed someone else to kill for you. Like, they just say that as a line, like he needed to corrupt someone else into killing for him to splinter his soul more. And you're like, there was kind of like a huge plot point that you just kind of said.
Yeah.
And there's no like, and not everything needs to be explained, but it's a huge thing to just in a line have that justify the finale of the show. And then you're like, You're right though. You're like, I understand. Okay, fine. You bop the balloon up enough times that I'm like, whatever. But also as a production person, I'm like, you only had X amount of episodes with X amount of minutes to tell this much stuff. And if you didn't explain that one point, but you showed that guy getting skewered and you showed Chucky saying these lines and you made that puppet believable for whatever it was, 7 or 8 episodes, I'm on for season 2. You know what I mean?
100% on for season 2. The voodoo, like why he has to get the kids to do it to help his voodoo shit work, didn't explain that enough.
And like, granted, not really that important, but why make that the case then? Like, why does that have to be the thing?
Well,
why couldn't he have just been collecting dolls?
To get to the last episode, just to have a throwaway line where they go, voodoo, it's crazy, am I right? Like, they literally just throw it up to that. That's where I'm pissed, because I'm like, TV show, you're smarter than this, I'm smarter than this, and I'm not going to hold you to it.
So, right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
But I love it when they called themselves out on their own shit, where they'd be like, voodoo, it's crazy. Isn't that nuts? And then like when Chucky's fighting him, he's like, how are you so strong? He's like, it's crazy. I know, right?
Yeah. And that was one of my favorite things is there's multiple times in that movie, in that show, just like The Mandalorian did this a lot, where like you do something and it was like Mandalorian was like, I never take my helmet off. And you're like, I know from comic books and a bunch of other shit that Boba Fett takes his helmet off a bunch. So Mandalorians do take their helmet off. And at a certain point in Mandalorian, they address that. And you're like, okay, so you're not ignoring that. And we've now watched 6 movies and the entire season of this show. And I'm always like, I'm pretty strong. I think I could stop a doll. Like, my son is roughly the same size as this doll. If he was coming at me full bore with a knife, I could stop him.
Yeah, but there's times where I'm trying to change Sammy's diaper and I'm like, how are you this strong? How can I not just hold you down to this floor? And she's like doing these alligator twists and she's like getting poop everywhere. And you're like, how am I not strong enough to hold this baby down long enough to change a diaper? So,
because that's the thing is you got to treat her like Chucky. You got to just forearm down. Ooh, that's what I do to Kent. But like, I love that the series addressed that. And it was like, I know you're all thinking this and I'm going to bring it up. And let's face it, right? For those of you who haven't seen the show yet, we didn't really give our like, hey, we're going to spoil shit thing. But for those of you who haven't seen it, there's a point where there's a human, there's like a teenager on the floor on his back and Chucky is either strangling him or trying to strangle him on top of him. And the boy is having trouble pushing Chucky off. And he says, how is a doll so strong? And Chucky says something like, it's voodoo, it's weird, right? Like, how crazy is that? And we've all thought that at some point while watching this franchise. I love that the series is like, hey, we know. And we answered it in such, like, they addressed that in such a fun, Chucky way, where they're like, we know, but it's voodoo and he's a killer possessed doll. And like, yeah, we know that's like that. I thought that was cool. That was a good wink.
Really cool. One of the things that I wish they had leaned a little more into. So Jennifer Tilly plays herself possessed by Tiffany the doll. And there are moments where people are like, Jennifer Tilly, and she's like, oh, did you like me? And he's like, I know who you are. And she's like, I thought you were too young to see Bound, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
But if Jennifer Tilly is real, the Chucky movies are real. And they didn't acknowledge that the films themselves exist in a meta way, which is fine. We'll just assume that they did and then the kids are too young to care about them. But it would be funny if at some point the kids like rented the movie that had the the portrayal, and it would be really funny if they did it in a way where it's like they showed the kids watching a version that isn't the actual film, but
like from Scream.
Yes, yeah. Like call it like kitty time or something like that, or like what Killer Doll, and the puppet in the movie isn't as good as the puppet in the show. And
Sure.
The kid actor, so it's not actually the Andy Barclay.
Right.
When
it's a dramatization of Child's Play.
Exactly. And when Andy Barclay shows up, he's like, that they made that movie about my life and it's awful. Like, yeah. That would have made me laugh really hard. I thought that would have been cool to...
Tori Spelling could play the mom.
Yes. Like,
that would be so good.
Have a little bit more of the meta world of it kind of happen. But that's fine.
Season 2, steal our idea.
Oh, come on. And there's so many things I'm excited for them to try and do. Again, this got me pumped up for Chucky again. Every episode had an awesome kill. Every single episode had at least one awesome kill. I loved it when Chucky was half melted, running around being like, rah, rah, and he had like half his face melted off. I thought that was great. There were a lot of good things.
You want to talk about some kills? Do you remember some kills specifically?
Yeah, dude. The first time I was like, oh, fuck, this show didn't come to play. The first episode, they kill off one of the Devon Thawa iterations. And it's like, it's an electrocution. It's fine, but it's not like, whoa. It
was a sci-fi and USA kill. Like, it's what I thought the series would have been. Not violent, not brutal, not bloody, not graphic.
And they did a cool swing in that moment where the kid's seeing his dad get electrocuted and the lights are strobing and Chucky just gets closer and closer to him and then like opens his mouth and is like, ah. I was like, whoa, that's kind of freaky. A cool visual. The second episode, Chucky trips a cleaning lady and she falls into the dishwasher where all the knives are blade up.
Yeah, the open. And I thought that was such a great, first of all, one of those horror movie things that like, no one would ever get killed that way, but like, how fucking cool. And it's filmed in such a way where the implied action works beautifully. You believe that she fell with that force and you see her get fucked up. And then they cut to it a couple other times, like when other characters discover her and like
they keep showing it, which was even better. It was well done, really well done. And
set a good tone for the series, right?
Huge. I wish they had done that in the first episode, but you know what? You got to get to it. And they built it up and it was that's when that was like, this show didn't come to play. Good job, show.
Didn't come to Child's Play.
Yeah. There's a couple others, and I love at the end, the last episode, at the very end, credits roll.
You and I are on the same fucking
Chucky
page.
pops up and he's like, "Oh, hey, didn't see you there." Now, people from the late '80s, early '90s don't remember when Chucky was like on MTV, was on like WWF and WCW as like a host, and would do like MTV hosting gigs. Chucky would do stuff as like an outside doll. He's like, "Hey, I'm a killer doll. What do you want? I'm gonna say some snide shit." Well, he like
one of the DVDs has that where he's like introducing the special features, and there's a question and answer with him. And
if you go to Universal, he takes you on the Terror Tram ride, which so Chucky used to do this shit, and he like he's sitting by the fire and he like does a rundown of all the kills, and I thought that was amazing.
And like we had 4 strangulations, 3, and a shitload of stabbings, right?
Oh. Dude, that scene in the movie theater when he's just going up and stabbing people up in the ass.
So I love that, but there's so many people. I love that as a scene, right? It was a great set piece. It was a really good sequence. But like, how long does the knife have to be to kill you by entering you through the ass?
Through the butthole? Yeah.
Through the butthole or surrounding area.
How
do you end up laying in that seat dead? But like,
I don't think getting stabbed in the buttocks in the meat. Like, even if it got me in the meat, if he stabbed you and it got your artery, but like if you got
But how long does that take you to bleed out? You wouldn't be in the same seat. You would have gotten up and started running.
Oh yeah, I would have crawled halfway over the seat before. I think it's pretty tough, but you know what?
It was fucking great. It was a great sequence. Chucky going under the seats and just stabbing random people
just screaming and dying, falling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I loved when he set the house, or I guess he was trying to kill that girl and he set the house on fire. I thought that was such a cool idea of,
and then he kills
people
kid.
at headphones.
And that's the first,
Yes.
And so they were doing a silent rave where everybody has headphones on and they're listening to like music all at the same time so that nobody catches them all having a party. And he lights the house on fire and the kids are inside dancing and the ceiling's like burning and they don't realize it. And behind them, while they're all dancing, there's a kid on the stairs just getting stabbed to death. And that's when I was like, really didn't come to play.
Now, I meant to Google this, but I didn't. Are these, I think they're middle schoolers. I think they say middle school, but I might be wrong. Are they middle school or high school? Do you know?
I thought they were high school students. Are they middle schoolers?
I don't know. I want to say that they mentioned middle school, but maybe I want to say they mentioned the term middle school, but maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they mentioned it in a different way. I believe I did Google it, and it was not, my search was not bringing up the answers that I was looking for, but,
and look, some of the kids, I say overall the kids did a great job, and I never want to rip on kids for their acting ability. I think that's unfair. But
that little girl sucked and Junior sucked. And
well, I do want to say Zachary Arthur, who's our main character, did a great job.
Fantastic.
He really did carry the show, but Zachary, I'm going to say this because you earned it. You earned the right for me to make fun of you because you were so damn good. But I have to say this, it does look like you went to the Smell of Fart School of Acting sometimes, because at least once a scene, you have this face where you're like you're about to cry, or you smelled a raunchy fart. And I think so like by the end, I would literally be watching a scene and go, and then like when you made the face and you'd find the moment that he smelled the toot in the scene.
I could see that. He was actually pretty good. He was good.
He was really good.
His best friend was played by, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, but Bjorgvin.
So I'm going to say Jorgen.
I'm going to say Bjorgvin.
I'm going to say Jorgen.
I suppose if I was a better host, I could have looked this up. But Jorgen Arneson was his best friend. He was okay, but kind of just flat. If the character was supposed to be like that, then fine. And he didn't take me out of anything. Junior, who plays our main character, Jake's cousin, he was just, I thought he was so bad. And it was important that he was good because he was important to the show.
He was important
especially
to the show.
At the end.
Especially at the end when he becomes a killer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a boy acting like a boy. And you're like, how long have you been a human?
Yeah, there were a lot of moments. But I did think that the girl who played Lexi, Come on, guys. Spell names like you're supposed to.
Olivia. Yeah.
Olivia Allen.
And actually, I think she did a good job. And her
good.
mom was the mayor. I believe, let me see here before I even say that and am wrong. I'm pretty sure they're actually mother and daughter. Did you read that?
Whoa.
They play mother and daughter in the show.
So
but I
Barbara
believe
Allen, they do have the same oddly spelled middle name, Allen, Alyn.
Yeah,
maybe
they're both been married and divorced, I guess.
Well, I thought she did a great job playing the character that she was supposed to. Who, like, you're like, oh, kill her, and then at the end they're like, oh, I guess she can be on the good guys team.
Yeah, no, she did a good job. I wanted I thought that was an interesting thing because, and if you guys haven't seen the show, there is a teenage girl who's like the popular hot girl. Yeah. And she's
the high school
fucking
bitch.
laying into the main character. Like, and this is like, she's just snide. She's a bitch. The main character loses his father to an electrocution. And at a Halloween party, she dresses up as the boy's electrifying father. Yeah. Going in front of everyone after she's already like been kicked out of school, blah, 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 about this other like not kicked out of school, but gotten in trouble about shit.
So mean to him.
Posted videos of him and shit. And she's so mean to him. Chucky goes to kill her and you're ready for that moment and you get gypped and she's spared for some other bullshit. And then she ends up becoming friends with him and she's part of the team trying to stop Chucky. And at first I thought that was very unsatisfying. But once I accepted it, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
I think we say bamboozled now, Rumi.
Bamboozled. Before we go away from actors, I want to say that her little sister, Caroline, was terrible. Did you agree with that? I don't want to shit on a tiny little girl, but...
Also, it's tough, though, because she's trying to play somebody who has
social issues.
Some sort of thing. Yeah, she's like...
I thought they should have leaned into that harder. That she specifically made a line about her where she's like, she doesn't even like being touched. But then they don't really play into that. But like, she can't have conversations in the
every
show.
time her sister tries to touch her, she's like, shakes her off. Every time.
She's a bitch. They should. But she was hard, and she took me out of it. Devon Sawa's wife, Bree, played by Alexa Dewig, dibs. She was fucking hot. You know who I'm talking about?
She's fucking dead. Stage 4 cancer. Care. How they killed her was pretty awesome.
Yes, she had let's go back to deaths for a second. She had a great death, right?
Yeah.
Her son's sitting in the car.
She has admitted to her family that she has stage 4 cancer, and she has just admitted to her therapist that she's actually not going to fight it. She's like, I think I'm just done. I think I'm good. And her therapist is like, oh, well, you got to do what you got to do. And she's leaving the therapist's office. Her kid is downstairs.
Which is in like a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Right?
Her kid is downstairs in the car, and she hears a voice like, it's Chucky. I can't do his laugh. And
that was
she sees this, like, this cart.
That's Brad Dourif's daughter's version of his laugh.
She sees the cart rolling towards her, and it hits her and knocks her out a window. And you see Junior in the car. He's got headphones on. He's like, do, 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 do. And you hear bang. And he turns, and the car next to them, the cart has fallen on the car next to him, and then he hears another bang, and he looks forward, and his mom has fallen through the windshield.
Her
and
face is smashed through the windshield. That's a really good one. There's a cop who gets killed in a hospital, and Chucky stabs him with like 1,000 hypodermics in his chest.
And whatever was in the hypodermics causes him to bleed everywhere, like from
that's right, out of his eyes and everything. I thought that was there was some good kills in here. This is fun. Back to characters. Did you notice that Nathan Cross, who is the bitchy girl who then turns into a good girl, her dad, the mayor's husband, he was in Cult of Chucky as a doctor. The same actor. Did you notice that?
What?
Yeah.
What?
And a different name. He was Nika's doctor in that hospital. That whole mental hospital thing. He was the guy running the hospital, holding the meetings where they were talking about the doll and everything. I was waiting for them to connect that somehow. Maybe they will. Him. Well, I mean, it's a different character name, and nobody has said anything in the show about it. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't pointed that out. But I feel like that's got to be on purpose, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's just good friends with Don Mancini. He's like, hook it up, man. I want to be in all those movies.
just it seems too on the nose to not be something, but like you can't. I don't think you can play the twin brother angle, right? Because you've already done a twin brother thing in this.
Who knows? It's weird. That is weird. I did not know that. Good find, Rumi. That's a good one.
I noticed it immediately. I was like, and I thought I was wrong. I looked it up. No, he's got two different names. And I also don't remember if he gets killed in the movie. I think he does.
Yeah, he dies in Colt. I think the Chucky smash his head in or something like that. They smash his head with like a trophy.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, he's laying on the floor.
Yeah, and then when Nika stands, she steps on him, which is really gross.
Yeah, I think that's him.
I love that this show had multiple Chucky deaths. Like most of the movies, there's one grand death.
Yeah,
this one,
I thought that too.
Multiple dolls die because his soul is splintered, so he can be in any number of dolls. And I thought that was really fun. Again, I like the flashbacks. We got to see a little bit of history of Charles Lee Ray. I thought that was good. I love the Joey Caputo sort of reveal where he's part of the orphanage where Charles Lee Ray lives.
It's funny because
cool.
Recently, and I'd love to talk about this at some point, I watched the remake of Black Christmas from the 2000s, I think, with the yellow-skinned Billy.
Yeah, with the everybody's mean. Everybody's just shitty in that movie.
Yes, and I started when that came out, I started watching it, and I immediately turned it off because it was so mean, and I was like, this isn't going anywhere, and I don't have time for it. I watched it again this Christmas, and I liked it more than I thought I would, but it's not good. And it's one of those like, let me tell you the history of Michael Myers. Why is he like that? This terrible childhood. And I'm like, not only do you not need that, it's better to not know. When this series, Chucky, the TV series, started showing Chucky's home life, I was like, I don't need to know that. I don't want to know, not even Chucky, Charles Lee Ray. I don't want to know Charles Lee Ray's mom. There's no reason to tell me all of that. That being said, it was interesting. It was within the canon and the feeling and the spirit of the rest of the show and the films. It worked. And then once you get to like the Tiffany and the Nika actress playing her father, like once you get to all that stuff, it was just fun. Yeah. Like the serial killer coming in and killing his parents and letting him live and, giving him a knife or whatever. Like you don't need that. That doesn't do anything for me, but it also didn't spoil anything.
It didn't matter to the canon of it. The dude's a murderer. He did some murders. We can assume that happened along the way anyway. And I think, in the grand scheme of when you're going to show a prequel or an origin story, the biggest sin is try to retcon what already exists. And they didn't need to do that. And they even actually added to it by being like, she's the one who called the cops on him when he was at the toy store. Like,
right. Which is like, and I didn't think that detracted or added anything. It was unnecessary, but like fine.
So to tie it into Star Wars, Rogue One does a great job of retconning Star Wars. It does a good job because it doesn't matter whether it exists or not. You know that people stole the plans to the Death Star. They know they got them to R2-D2. We know how it sets it up. What they do whether you care or not, only adds to the story. It didn't take anything away. The problems with the prequels is you told me too much about Darth Vader to the point that you're like, none of that makes sense. None of that adds to his character. In fact, you're detracting from the character because you've over explained it at this point. You've oversaturated the explanation to the point that it's detracting from the character to be scary. Whereas this was like, he's a murderer. He was a murderer from day one. He's a shitty kid. Here's him murdering a few times. Well, we know that already we know that he must have murdered a few people. Showing me a few murders doesn't change anything. If they were like, and this happened to him, and then that happened to him, and then this happened, like that was like trying to add to the character as opposed to like, hey, he's just a murderer. Right. I'm so glad that they kept it simple.
They did, and I think that's why, because that's a trope that I don't like, right? Like, I don't like watching the Rob Zombie Halloween where they're like, and he was exactly this height, and I don't need to
eat
know
your
all
fucking
that.
Cereal, you fucking fuck kid who fucking face fuck, and you're like, wow, your family cursed a lot. Is that why you're a killer?
But it ends up kind of bookending what you're trying to do because, and I always think of Wolverine. Wolverine was best in the 80s and early 90s when we didn't know his past and we only had pieces. because you wanted to know more. It's the not knowing is so intriguing. It's like an itch you can't scratch. Once you tell me what fucking happened, I'm no longer interested in that. You know what I mean?
It's funny how that works, where it's like, if you had given me, Wolverine in the Civil War, just one issue, Wolverine in the French Revolution, one thing, great. Don't tell me why. Never explain why. Never give more than that. That's why, like, the Predator works so well. We have no idea why they hunt, but we know that it's cool, and we know that, like, I love any one-off where you're just put them in here.
There's a new Predator movie where there's a Predator hiding in the closet, and another Predator comes in, kills his family, then gives him a wrist gauntlet, and is like, "Be good, kid." Be good, kid.
No, I was gonna say there's a new Predator movie coming out where he's fighting a Native American. It's and it looks awesome. Looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But like, again, it's like, you don't explain too much and it works. And I think that was a big strength, that they didn't overdo it. It was dangerous. They walked that line, but again, took the swing. They took the swing and it paid off because they did it right.
Sure.
The person they had playing the Tiffany double did not work because her face maybe worked, but Jennifer Tilly was always way more voluptuous than that. She was always just never that skinny. She always had more curves to her, and whatever. But again, I bought it, so fine, I'm here.
And it also, like, those flashbacks, although plot wise and story wise were unnecessary, based on how all these movies and now the show operate, it fit because you had actors doing voiceovers for their past selves played by their actual descendants in decent makeup. It was just such a weird fucking thing to watch that it worked on a level of like, okay, I'll allow it. Go ahead, show me what you're going to show me. It's interesting enough.
To kill off some main characters and not see them in any sort of way, like even like, I get it if you don't want to show the character dead because they might still be alive, but not even show their face at the moment of their death. Like, there's again, spoilers. Sorry guys, fuck it. If
I've seen it, you should have seen it by now. I'm usually late to the party.
What's the sister's character? Kyle comes to the door and supposedly got blown up by a bomb, but we don't see her come to the door. We just hear her voice. Like, did you not have her for that day? For the day she dies on screen, you didn't have her? Because she's a cool character. I
took that to be a comic book. Did she or did she not die? Because I think you see Andy inside, and she's trying to get in, and her trying to get in is what sets off the bomb, right? And
that was clunky though. The way they did it.
Yeah, I agree. But again, it's like, okay, I think that's one of those things where you're almost like, hey, you have 45 minutes to wrap up this season. And they're like, well, we have all these things, and they tried to tie off everything that they could.
And I'm sure this production was wrecked with COVID problems where
I would think
you have to do a lot of red tape now. It's very difficult to film with a lot of people, and there were not a lot of people. There's scenes where, like, the town's like doing it. It's like you didn't even have enough people to do a press conference. So
but yeah, that's right. I noticed that too. But I gotta say, on the plus side, wearing N95 masks helps keep Dembele out of your body, so it's really hard to transfer souls through an N95.
If you can't blow out a candle through it, you can't Dembele, beg of the power.
Well, let me ask you this.
You know what also I missed is that we didn't get any cool boiling clouds when he Dembele'd anything.
Oh yeah, in the fish, the old fish tank composite shots. Yeah.
Yes.
That is actually very Chucky to me, because I feel like there was, like, at least in 3, they were still doing it. You're like, I know you could do better than that.
I know you're taking those clouds from Ghostbusters. Right? I know you're stealing those Ghostbuster clouds and putting them right in your movie.
Let me ask you this, because this is something I noticed, and I thought they'd explain, but they didn't really. In the first movie, he had been Chucky so long that he got shot and it hurt and it bled. And he goes to his voodoo guy and he's like, dude, and he said, you're turning human. Yep. You have to reveal yourself. You have to take the soul or transfer your soul to the first person you told for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That happens to be the case for many of the movies. This season or this show, he seems to just be a doll. They hurt him. They hit him. They drop him. He doesn't ever seem to get actually hurt.
Except when he gets shot, he's meaty and bloody. And like when he cut his head off, he was meaty and bloody. So he is flesh and doll. He's a mixture now. He's half and half.
But do you think the rules of like you're turning more human no longer apply? Because in the first movie, it felt like for him, they were implying a ticking clock of you have to get inside that kid before you are stuck in Chucky's soul forever.
Right.
Or is he stuck now and he doesn't want to leave?
He's stuck. He can get into other bodies. I don't know. I can't remember why. By splintering. Yes.
Right. Okay.
So, but when he's in the doll form, he has like blood and like flesh. He's transforming into that. That's why they showed the hand was all messed up at one point.
Yeah. And like, well, the hand was messed up because that was a leftover from Cult, right?
From Cult, yeah. And when they bleed, because that's how you knew that he was a splinter. But yeah, there's some weird moments there.
I want to say, and I can't now. I should have written them down, but I want to say there were some injuries he sustained that were doll injuries and not human injuries. You know what I mean? Like they stabbed him or tried to see if he would react to something and he didn't. And I was like, but isn't he part human then? Isn't he turning human?
There were a couple times also where he wasn't in the doll yet, which I was like, when Jake finds the doll and smashes it in the subway and he's like, it's cool. I found it. It's fine. I tested it. I smashed him up. And then he just wakes up in the kitchen. So that meant that like at some point he splintered into that body. But when
well, I mean, but again, I can't take any marks away from any of that because it's
Chucky. Season 2 predictions. What do you want? What do you want to see?
Boobs. No, I mean,
stop.
Honestly, more of the same. And actually, the thing that I but said at the beginning of the episode, something that of our episode that I really liked about this was how they handled the LBGT characters.
Yes,
because there's multiple and. Really, if you are a Child's Play Chucky fan, you know that Chucky and Child's Play actually have a very large spot for LGBT in their universe, in their canon, in the franchise. This is not the first gay character we have seen.
Yeah.
Gay characters, I should say.
And I also think it's like as Don Mancini sort of came out to the world, you know, and brought that into his franchises. I think it worked well for him. Because he also knows that, like, you know, I was really worried that this was going to focus heavily on the kids figuring themselves out. And it's like, no, they treated it very normal, which I really liked that it wasn't like even there was a scene where a kid came out to his mom and she's like, cool. And I was like, fine. Yeah. Thank you for not taking an entire episode to do that. Like it's like I thought they handled it really well and it made the characters feel more natural than. You know, just this token thing that we've seen. We've seen it before. You can do better. We can do better now and have the characters be better than something we've seen. You know, that Will and Grace did or something like that. Like,
right.
You can have better gay characters now, and I think they did a good job. Now, I can't speak for somebody who's like, is that the representation you like?
Correct.
I thought it was cool.
And I was going to hesitate to even bring this up because I don't know, like, if there's someone's like, you're not qualified to talk about this. And I was like, excuse me, I talk about dick pizzas. I'm qualified to talk about gay people.
I mean, like, you know, there's so many times where I feel like the coming out story has become played out.
Right. And again, maybe as straight men, we are not the best to talk about that. But for me, as an audience member, regardless of sex, race, or sexual orientation, there's so many times where I feel like a movie, a book, a comic, a this is doing something in the context of their story to look at this. We're doing this. This show was about a killer doll and the kids who are trying to stop it and make everyone gay. It doesn't bother me. But when the show or movie or whatever becomes about that, it has nothing to do that it's a gay issue. If you were talking about someone who's trying to find their mother, okay, fine. But like, is that related to the plot or is that a side thing?
Right.
And when it becomes about that, if your story is about kids finding themselves and understanding their identities and their sexual identities, that's great. If that is part of what you're saying, great. For me, and again, maybe I'm not qualified to say it, the fact that this show normalized it, I feel like so many movies are like, he is gay. Yeah. He's gay. That boy is also gay. Do you see how gay they are? They're being gay. Isn't it weird? And isn't it impressive that we're showing them gay kissing on TV?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, because I've seen gay guys kiss in real life and it just like was a thing that happened. And I feel like this show is like, he's gay. He's
sometimes
also gay.
Shows think they're the first time to do it. It's
and I think that I hate to say it.
It's important to show it, but you don't have. And like also the other thing I liked is the second that the kids realized that they they're finding themselves or finding their love. Suddenly they didn't like I'm here. Like they didn't have to do anything like that. It was
felt,
so
like you said.
It was sweet.
I forgot about the mom
love story.
That's what it is, because I feel like if you had the same two characters, right, but maybe the podcasting best friend was a girl. When they fell in love and kissed, they would just be closer, but the characters as individuals would stay the same. They wouldn't stand up on a soapbox about their love. And I'm not saying that any sexual orientation does or does not deserve a soapbox, but if that's not what your show is about, why would it be that way? It again pulls from what you're trying to say. And I thought that this show made it seem like that's no big deal. And I would think that that's where we as a society want it to be. Whereas like, it doesn't matter if you're a black kid kissing a white kid or a gay kid kissing a gay kid. Or
remember when
whatever.
that was the biggest thing? Hey, remember when the original West Side Story came out and that was a huge fucking deal?
Yeah.
And now the new West Side Story came out and nobody gave a shit.
Nobody saw it.
I saw it. I did see it.
I want to see it just because it's Spielberg and it also is a great timeless classic story. But like
visually stunning. Right? But
it has to be, but well,
pointless.
Anyways.
So pointless. But again,
but I thought like this was like a very great way to just be like, hey, this is part of the story because it's part of his story, but we're not going to like, I guess it's sensationalizing it. And I also feel like media, whatever kind of media we're talking about, a lot of times tries to, in my opinion, pat itself on the back and be like, see what we're doing? We're showing some gay stuff because we're sensitive to that.
Yeah, we're tolerant.
But don't make a big deal. Like you're calling attention to it, which in my opinion diminishes
kind of like when I go
what it is.
When I go give food to homeless people, I'm like, guys, look, let me take a picture.
Here's a picture of me on social media.
Click, snap. I did it. I fed homeless people. You guys look at me doing it. Like you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to make a big deal about doing the right thing about making people be normal. Like,
right. I thought this was really cool that it was just like
they did a good job.
It was just like he's got a weird literally it was like the gay thing was the same level of that he's in a weird artist. Like he wants to do weird type of art. They didn't like play up on that giant or make it a huge thing. It was the same thing as his orientation. I thought it just really normalized it, And
to that end, his dad being a dick about it, but trying not to be a dick. Like he was trying to, but at the same time was uncomfortable with it. I thought that was a very mature approach to it. Because like, how many times have we seen the family that's like, oh, we hate you now?
No way!
He had problems with it, and it didn't come out till he was drunk. And I thought that was a very dark side and a very interesting way to play that. Because he did try to support his son to an extent, but wasn't good at it.
And I think if you get into that character, he thought he was being supportive when in fact, at most, he was being tolerant. But he thought he was doing it. And I think that's kind of important and kind of an interesting character trait of that character. But like you said, I think it's that heavy-handed thing of like, I'm gay. And then the family's like, but we don't like it. And it's like, well, that probably is true for a zillion people. But there's a lot of other shades in there. And also, if you start talking about that, how does that relate to your voodoo killer doll? You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah. Interesting. It is interesting. I would love to hear a qualified perspective of it. If somebody's like, you guys are full of shit and shouldn't ever talk about that ever again, you have no clue, tell us. I'd be open to that.
I agree.
But at the same time, if you're like, no, actually, that is interesting. And here's some things why that is, why they did a good job. I'd be interested to hear that too.
Be interesting. I'm trying to think of like Wes Craven's New Nightmare took a huge thing, that earthquake that happened around that time, and kind of wove that into some of the story without sensationalizing it or making it a big deal. I wonder if COVID and some of the other stuff that we have going on right now will be part of that, where it's like they'll mention it and make it part of the story, but not be like,
COVID's going to be a tough one, man, because we're going to start to have like movies where people are wearing masks and stuff.
Not Marvel movies. Those motherfuckers will take it off every 5 seconds. Yeah, if you take a mask off, if you take your fucking helmet off while you're fighting Thanos, you're not wearing a mask for Omicron.
Here's what I want to see in season 2. I do want to see Glenn. They did tease Tiffany. I want them to come back.
I agree.
Chucky mentioned that he had a son, so I want to see it. I want to see how they handle it. They can do a good job with this. I know the seed was weird and Glenn and Glenda was a weird character to bring into the series, but I know that they can do something cool with him, and I'm excited to see what they can do with it. I want to see Jeremy Silvers, who played Tyler in the third movie.
I would think that's cool. I was going to say Chris Sarandon, if he's still alive, that would be interesting. But Tyler would be cool.
He didn't die in any of the movies. Chris Sarandon would be great. I'd love to see Tyler come back because he's one of the other characters that knows the doll was alive and had to deal with that. He'd be cool if he showed up as like a survivor. I just want to see them expand on the mythos some more, tentatively, because you did a pretty big swing with Curse and Cult. So don't swing too much harder, but I like that you expanded in a way that's cool.
I wouldn't mind. This is going to be stupid, but it could be fun. A doll fight. Like, I don't know if a good guy. I don't know if a protagonist goes into a doll or if one of the Chucky dolls somehow changes his heart, changes his mind. I don't know that, but like, it'd be cool to see two dolls going against each other.
I could easily see two Chuckies not getting along because one wants to be the boss. And
so they don't even have to be a good guy and a bad guy. They could just be against each other. Right?
Easily. Because they were like,
I mean, and I think that could be a fun sequence, right?
Don't kill a kid under 5. And they were like,
right. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I thought that was a funny scene.
But what if one is like, nah, you know what? Fuck you. Like, I would love to see them fighting each other because that would be awesome. I would love to see a doll swarm fight because it's hard to show multiple dolls doing things at any one time. It's hard. You got a lot of cables. You got a lot of puppeteers. I would love to see a guy covered in dolls just getting stabbed the fuck up, falling down the stairs or something. That'd be awesome.
That's like a Chucky trope, right? Is to have someone with a doll that has animatronic legs kicking, holding onto it and flailing around, right? You have to have one of those in every movie or show. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did a great job. Again, this is like smack dab in the middle for me. You know, I think it's better than Curse. I think it's better than Seed, but it's on par with the third one for me.
I liked it. I would say, like you said, kind of smack dab in the middle of my franchise. I guess I would love to see. He was such an active role, an active character in this movie. Whereas, like, and I guess when you think about even 2 and 3, he was in those too. But in the first one, there's so many shots. There's so much build where you're watching a killer doll movie. You know he's possessed and going to do shit, but he's not moving yet. He's not doing shit yet. Yeah. And then when he starts to do stuff, you don't know right away it's him. I mean, we know, but you don't see it. There's no proof. Yeah. I would love to see a little bit more of that type of horror versus him walking around and talking. Maybe, a little bit slower of a build.
You already know.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work now, right?
It doesn't work. I don't think it works. My favorite part is when he's sleeping next to the little sister. He's like, all right, I'm going to go kill your sister now, and gets up and she's like, okay, bye.
Yeah. I got to say, it's funny. And I think Freddy, you and I have talked about this before, that at a certain point in the Freddy franchise, he gets too funny and winks at the camera too hard. And the series kind of suffers for it. Maybe suffers is too strong of a word, but it definitely is not as good when he starts to get goofier. I don't know that Chucky as a character or a franchise is any worse for the jokes and stuff. And they're landing and they're funny.
Here's the difference. Here's the big difference. When
redheads are funny.
Yeah, absolutely. When Freddy thought he was getting funny, he looked to Looney Tunes for his jokes. And like he was doing like fucking airplane jokes, like stuff that was like sight gags and it was cheesy. Whereas Chucky's still flipping people off. And even though
fair enough.
Freddy thinks he's flipping you off when he's doing, "Whoa, Super Freddy."
Right, that's the one I was thinking of. I was just going to say that.
Great graphics, man. Like, that's not a joke. The graphics weren't great. Maybe that's the joke. Well, that's not funny. Like,
because
it's about as funny to me as like Spaceballs when like we're combing the desert and they have a giant comb.
Yeah.
That's a joke, you guys. That joke was engineered, and somebody built a giant comb for that joke. You get it? Do you get the joke? It's fucking funny. No, it's not. And then Freddy
it is.
Then Freddy flips you off. No, it's not funny. None of that is funny.
You don't like Spaceballs?
Spaceballs fucking stupid, man. Like, it's so dumb on all, like, I never saw it as being funny.
But it's supposed to be.
He's jamming our frequencies and literally
But that's like
strawberry jam.
That's like the movie Airplane. It's a different type of comedy. You don't like Airplane either?
Airplane's okay. I like Naked
it's one
Gun.
of my favorite comedies.
Naked Gun is like rides that line of being okay. The first Airplane is riding that line of being okay. Like I love it when Airplane's like, don't park at the white curb. Don't listen to that red curb.
That's my favorite. Like, don't start that white zone shit again.
Yeah, like
that movie.
It can be really funny.
Yeah. But you don't like they're jamming us. You don't like
Strawberry. Like it's too on the nose.
Interesting. I never knew that. That's a big deal.
Like Airplane still rode that line where being on the nose could still be funny. And same thing with the first Naked Gun, on the nose constantly, but enough to be funny. Whereas Spaceballs was like, we're on the fucking nose and we're making fun of Star Wars, you guys. And the whole time I was like, Star Wars is funnier than this. Like just in itself is funnier than this.
Oh man, we got to do an episode of show about that because, interesting. Well, not to digress, I agree with what you're saying and I understand what you're saying about Freddy being that way, whereas Chucky is verbally saying shit and acting and doing things that is an FU to the characters or even the audience or the genre. R.I.P.
Bob Saget. It's the difference between America's Funniest Home Videos and Tosh.0. Like,
sure.
You're doing the same thing. You're telling jokes while doing the same thing, but some of the jokes are mean while you're flipping everybody off, and the other ones
I guess that makes sense. I guess that,
funny,
you're
guys.
right.
That's a joke.
You're right. That makes a lot of sense. I get that. But I think the humor in this entire franchise,
it worked. Yeah.
It's the same. And I think it's the same. I mean, it gets funny after 4, right? After Bride, it really starts to focus on being a horror comedy way more than 1 through 3.
Yeah. And I mean,
he says some funny shit in 2 and 3. 1 is completely straight. Aunt Maggie said she was a bitch and that she got what she deserved.
I mean, hysterical.
That wasn't played for a laugh, though. Like, if you think about it, that's actually played for some fucking kid drama. But anyway,
but the third one,
comedy in this
all
one.
All right, Chucky's going to be a bro.
I love that. I mean, the comedy of the show is the same flavor as the comedy of the movies. And it's the same Chucky. It's the same Chucky all the way through. He does a great job.
And I do get it. I know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want my Chucky to be funny. And my fandom stopped after the third film. That's fine.
Yeah, I get that.
The fact that they swung for the fences, I will always appreciate that they swung for the fences and said, let's get funny instead of get stale. Because there's nothing worse than a movie doing the same thing over and over again. I'm looking at you, Jason Voorhees. Which, again, I'll watch any one of those movies, but like there's a progression in Child's Play where like you're watching something different by the time you're watching the 4th film. Whereas if I'm watching the 8th film of Friday the 13th, it's the same movie from the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th.
I kind of feel the same way about Freddy as well. Nightmare on Elm Street there's differences. And just like Freddy, Jason, I could tell you the difference between 3 and 4 and 5.
I can tell you the difference in his glove, the soldering of his glove and the rivets they used.
But for Jason, like the difference between 3 and 4 and 5, the character is the same. The movie is the same.
Yeah.
The deaths are essentially the same. You know what I mean? It's just, he stabs you with this garden instrument instead of this garden implement. Yep. And it's like, Chucky definitely strays back and forth and does its own thing. And I don't know, that's kind of in tune with the character himself, right? Chucky just does fucking what he wants.
Does what he wants. He's a badass. It's so great. It's great. I love it. And that's, to me, at the end of the day, it has maintained its consistency. It maintained its big swings and it landed them. There's a weird moment that I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Where Chucky starts singing the needle drop. Like the soundtrack is a song, a needle drop. It's an actual song.
Yeah.
And Chucky's like singing it for no reason. And I was like, that's a weird choice, but sure. All right.
I mean, it worked. It was, I mean, for what it was, again, maybe not what I would have done, but like didn't detract from my enjoyment.
Again, yeah, it knew what it was doing. It knew you were giving it a pass. And by the time when you were done, you're ready. I'm glad they already gave it a season 2. So let's see what happens. Guys, tell us, do you like it? Do you like Chucky? What's your favorite Chucky? Did you like the TV show? Do you think it worked? Was it a massive failure? Are we full of shit? We don't know what we're talking about.
I would love to see your guys' ratings of, at least, even if you like, say the movies and throw the show in if you want, but I'd love to hear like
count the show as like
what
one
yours
segment.
Are. Yeah. Count the show as one movie. Where do you rate everything? I would love to see what people thought about that.
And Don Mancini, we know you're listening. Come on the show. I'd talk to you.
Tom Holland could come on again and just talk about whatever. Listen to that episode if you haven't yet. It's pretty cool. It's fun.
Yeah, it's wild.
Check that out. God, that was years ago.
Years ago. All right, Rumi, we got to blast this thing off, dude. He's still there. Chucky's still there. He's looking. Whoopsh. All right, we've been the Launchpad Podcast. We're the Rocketeers. We are out.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.